Okay, here's one that'll do a little tie-in here on this video series we've got on Sanxingdui. First, I have to introduce somebody new. In the video game that I play, Neverwinter, they've come out with a new class, the Bard, and as you can see, he plays a guitar here. Now, that doesn't look like the guitar we're expecting on the guy here for what I've named him, but it is the only single cutaway guitar, and I did make it antique white with white trim because I can color it out and so on. And who I've made him into is Randy Rhoads, a famed guitarist of Ozzy Osbourne band whenever he left Black Sabbath and come out with this thing. Incredible guitarist. But so I named him after it, and I've actually tried to make him look like it kind of. You can see him over in here with his vest and stuff in there. I've given him the super bright eyes of Jarl's gaze. I might change that some other time for it and everything too, but there. And so let me zoom back out here on him. And one other thing I'll have to show you is the new mount they have for the game, because bam, it's Pegasus. Yep. Now you can't fly because they can't let you fly in the game. That would cheat, let you go over walls and all kinds of things. And a lot of people have said they don't like the way his arms stick out here, and when he starts walking it flaps out more like a chicken. Well, it looks like he's getting ready to fly, and he just never does. And I'll give you a little show of that here in a second. But you know, whenever they put you on a horse, your legs, if you look, are out a little bit, and they made his wings fold onto the legs as good as they can, so it ends up setting like this. So it really looks like TriStar pictures right when he's fixing to take off and run through the picture here, doesn't it? Anyhow, and here's his stance that he does, which y'all saw whenever he came out. But whenever you start walking with him, if you look down, his wings come out, and then they fold back in, so he's able to walk around and do. Now, so you're asking yourself probably, what's this got to do with everything that we've been talking about in Sanxingdui? Well, I'll try to put it together. Let me kill this polar bear here real quick. You're out of here, bud. So we were looking at a bunch of artifacts, and we were talking about totems and how the Sanxingdui heads, or probably the tops of totem type objects. And here we're looking at a totem. It looks pretty familiar here, and you can see those scribbles here that are on the side of it, that are right here and here, which looks extremely like it. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that this game is controlled by the Anunnaki or the you know, anybody like that, but I'm supposed to reactivate this. Whenever I do, it's going to make a Eye of Sauron or an Eye of Horus type thing come out. So let's do that. That's the alarm, and you can see the eye going now that goes onto it. And so what this is an alarm spell. This is supposed to in some way trigger the fact if somebody has been here or not, and I reset them every day, because a lot of them go off, and that's one of the little tacks that you do around here. Being that I've got the new character in the game, I have to go back around through all of the areas again, and it's quite the grind. But hey, just so happens I'm running through this ice area here, and whenever I do, I'm thinking about the video that we've been making, and lo and behold, here's this totem. Now as you look at it, on the bottom is a wolf, which we can understand that well, and in the middle one is like an ibex or some type of ram or something along that line, or antelope or gazelle, which really doesn't fit in the Arctic here where we are at all, does it? But the top there is actually a walrus with his tusks that are sticking out, and that would make sense in this Arctic area that's here. But yet they have wolves around on here, but they don't have that ibex type that much. So that kind of doesn't fit so much, but together as a full scheme it does. So again, here we have that idol or totem, you know, and so it's showing you that they have this symbolism on them. And if we just took that walrus off the top and were to place that Sanxingdui on here, maybe we have something kind of what we're looking at. What else does this cold area people have to do with what we're talking about? Well, I've made a few other videos in the same area, talking about the Aurora Borealis, but there's a giant Viking ship. In fact, we've talked about the giants whenever we've been here before, and when we talked about the Sanxingdui people, These people were Proto-Indo-Europeans and breaking 6 foot. They were going up against a bunch of Oriental people that were barely breaking 5 foot, and respectively they would have been a giantness do that. You don't think that's giant stature? Try standing up next to Shaq one of these days. I had a friend that was just 6'9", and me being close to 6 foot, and he seemed like a giant. So we have that type of connotation, but these are also the people that build these type skiffs here, sea boats, but also when you have the sea boats that's here going across, they also build houses out of mammoths, and I've shown that in another video where there's houses that were built by mammoths. And well, what does this got to do with anything? Well, in that same area that we're talking about of the Andronovo culture and Pazyryk cultures that later become the Scythians, if you go back in time to the end of the last ice age and around that, I've shown many videos where they've shown these same type of houses. They're like the ones that you see right up there on top of that ridge. Here, let me go ahead and land and I'll show you them some up close. For if we come up here, there's going to be some guys to attack. There's another one of those totems is what this is, so I was supposed to set it off, and I did it before I did that video. In fact, the first one I saw, right when I went up to it, I went to click it, and I went to click it from the side about like this, and I could see that symbolism there, and I was like, oh snap. And then all of a sudden I looked over here and I saw these mammoth bone places, and I'm like, oh snap. And of course off in the distance there's a Viking ship type thing. And what's this all got to do with the cold and around the Arctic Circle or anything else? Well, all three of those people and Scandinavians have to do with that. And in an older time they were used to live over a far area. In fact, the Pazyryk culture ends up disintegrating and becoming partially the Russian culture that we know of today, but part of those Proto-Indo-Europeans that are all attached to that end up becoming what we know as Western Europeans, the people of England, the UK, and so on. Anyhow, I just thought I'd throw that in there to show you that there are some connections. In fact, if I wanted to spend the time to take the boat and go all the way across the map, I could show you a couple more things that slightly make a connection, but that's the big ones here, to show you that people in that ancient time actually built houses out of mammoths. It's right here. Who are we talking about? This same culture in the same video, and yet I walk up and I have to do this alarm totem, and it has something that looks like symbolism on the side of it, and it's hooked up with a totem like we were talking about, very much like what we were just talking about. Isn't that strange? Moving on. Peace.